Hey everyone, Josh here. I'm going to tie a recent favorite summer steelhead fly of mine. I've been calling it the Kaleidoscope. I'm going to start with a size 3 Aquafly's Kingfisher hook. It's kind of their version of their classic or modern really steelhead up-eye fly. I'm going to start by locking down a base of thread. This is going to be Danville 6/0, which is a very classic steelhead type thread. This fly is going to have a lot of little parts and pieces, so bear with me, but I'm going to take and add a piece of Lagarton Lagarton small oval tinsel. I'm going to lock it in right on the end of the return there so that it kind of smooths out the body and we don't get any big bulky buildup. And when I lock this in, I typically don't go all the way to the point with this. I don't really like it going too far down around this part of the bend. I think it looks a little bit weird. So I'm gonna lock it in maybe right there. And then I'm gonna advance a few wraps forward. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap 5 wraps here for this. They should all be edge to edge so you don't see that red showing through. Another thing that you could do is start off with white thread and then change to the red, so then you definitely wouldn't see it bleeding through. So lock it in just like that, and then kick it over, and I'm going to run it out parallel to the original tie-in. We're going to do a little bit of floss work here, so that's going to help keep it nice and smooth without any kind of buildup. That looks pretty nice. So next, what I'm going to do is take a piece of uni bright yellow silk floss. I'm going to lock that in. Sometimes I just run it through my mouth to get it a little bit wet to help it stay together. That's going to get locked in kind of on the front, same area. I'm going to then grab a piece of Danville Mylar. And a lot of times under my floss, I'll have Mylar just so it helps to not darken the floss when it gets wet. It helps it to kind of stay bright and shiny and glowy. Now I'm going to advance both of these a ways back, so maybe halfway back. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the Mylar over the floss going back. And I'm doing a bigger piece than I would need, but I just kind of like doing it like that, little bit of excess space to work with. Again, that way I'm not getting any kind of bumps where I would end the material on the tie-in point. And so somewhere about like that. And you can see typically when I lock in each material, I'm not putting a ton of thread wraps. Most oftentimes I'm doing 3 or so. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this floss right over that tinsel. And so when it gets wet, it's not going to get dull from the black hook underneath, or it's not going to become orange from the red thread underneath. It's going to want to glow a little bit more and stay kind of bright. And so I'm going to wrap that. And you can see when I'm wrapping this floss on, I'm just going straight over the top. And what that does is that keeps it laying flat without twisting it or untwisting it. And it just holds a nice shape, and I think it ties in a little bit better. You can see the floss is also pretty flat because of that. Now, I know that we just spent a lot of time tying that in, and now we're just going to cover it up with thread, but that's going to help give us a nice even body. So maybe somewhere like that. And I'm going to tie in yellow pheasant crest for the tail here. And typically, I'm going to pull 2 from the same exact spot. So I'm just going to take hold of 2 and pull them out of there. I want them to be a little bit longer. And then I'm just going to take the feather, strip back some of that base, so those really short ones get pulled out of there. Like that. And then I'm going to make sure that the tips are lined up here. So you can see there's 2 different ones. And whoops. And I pulled them apart to show you guys this, but I had them already in the perfect place. And I typically do the bigger one on the bottom. There we go, like that. Then now they're kind of locked right in together. Now same deal. I'm going to get them wet with my mouth. Now I'm going to find what I think is about the right spot. And they're kind of going to match the bend of that hook when I tie it in. And I bet that'll be pretty close right there. And I just pinch them together. And that looks pretty nice. And now I'm going to look at them from the top and make sure that they're on there nice and straight. And then I'm just going to lock them down. And I'm going to trim a little bit of this back end first. And then lay it all down. So now we're kind of building up this underbody as we move forward. So now I'm going to add Legarton medium oval. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tie this in on the side, far side to me, closest side to you guys. And when I start, once I dub my body on, when I start the wraps, it's kind of going to look like it just appears out of nowhere and will come from the bottom over the top. So this fly's taking shape pretty good. Now I use a little wax on my thread here. This is a hard wax, but a lot of times that Wapsi, I use the low tack so it doesn't build up a lot. Like that. It's going to be pretty good. Now, because this is a kaleidoscope, I have yellow. I'm going to do orange. Then I'm going to do red. This is Angora goat dubbing, and this is just the hot orange, which I think is a very nice orange color. And I like to do my body a little bit slower, so it is I feel like a little bit better buildup, the way that I like it to look. Now, keep in mind, these are summer steelhead flies, and they're little pieces of art, and you would just make them however you like them. So however your ICs fit is what's going to be the best. And so, as I'm kind of building this fly, it's almost 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 for that body and everything. Like that, I think is pretty nice. Now I'm going to do a little more wax on here. And then this is going to be red Angora. And then once I have this all on, I will want to kind of taper this down as I move forward. So it needs to, when I finish, it needs to not be a real thick body at the front, because I'm going to put a hackle and a wing in front of it. So it needs to taper off a little bit more, and we're almost there. And that might have been too much, but we'll see. Just one last little dab. Yeah, I think like that's pretty nice. And you can see here how it tapers down right here, so it's thicker and then thinner. And I typically want to get about 5 wraps of this. My third one should be kind of crossing over the color change. So there's 1, 2, 3. Those ones aren't very even. 2. This one wrap right here, just there we go, maybe 3, 4, and 5, like that. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, it's nice. I think that is pretty evenly spaced out. Now I'm going to add a purple guinea collar here. I kind of sorted through them to find one that I thought might be a little more size appropriate for this. When I picked the hackle fiber is probably going to be about the length of the body, but once you tie it in, because it's curving back, it won't be that long. And I take and I strip off the majority of that under, and I'm going to tie it in by the tip. Fold it back. Now I'm not going to use, well, I say I'm not going to, you never know, but I typically would not use this whole feather for the collar. 3 or 4 wraps. And so that's locked in good. I use typically a few more wraps to tie in that collar because it's such a little slippery guy. And I'm just going to start folding this back. And I'm just going to use this natural fold and curve to hold this thing back. I'm not using thread to get the hackle to lay back. And just one wrap right in front of the other. And just keep working it, and it'll just lay all back on its own. It's looking pretty good, I think. This purple feather is a little bit darker than what I would normally use, but okay, so that was, I think, 5 wraps, so I guess I lied, and I ended up using basically the whole thing. There's 3 wraps to lock it in. And if you have some little random feathers that need to get trimmed out, don't hesitate to do that. Okay, so now we're going to put in a wing here, and I do need to lay down a little base of thread to stop it from slipping when I lock it in. But I just about like that. And I don't know if you can tell, but you can see the thread is twisted, so give it a little spin so it untwists. And I'm going to do this wing with white calf tail. This calf tail is not super long on this one, but it's good enough. And so maybe that much. Now once you cut it, stack it, and preen it out a little bit, it's going to become a lot thinner than that. So when you cut it, you'll want to pull all that under fur out, like so. So now it's a lot thinner. Now we're going to stack it. Like so. Now this is calf tail. You could use bucktail, you could use Arctic fox, you could use any number of things. Kid goat works pretty good. Polar bear if you had it. Just about whatever you like that's white. Skunk works pretty good. And I don't like my wing to be this long. I want my wing to kind of sit right in this little trough before the end of the tail. So about like so. And so I'm going to pinch it over. I'm going to do a loose wrap to lock it in. And you could cut this first if you like. I don't typically. So there's 3, 4, 5 wraps. And now some of those short fibers are going to just come right out of there. That's to be expected. And there we go. Now, what I'm going to do is trim this. Trim these butts up. Like so. Okay, then, little trick here, cauterizer. And basically what I'm going to do is get the cauterizer hot. It's got a straight edge. And I'm just going to push that back. And now we have this straight edge from where we just burned up all the material. I'm then going to add a little bit of crystal flash in the wing. And what I like to do is a little bit on either side. This is just standard pearl. And I double it over and I run it up kind of the edge right here. Boom. Switch sides, double it over the thread, come underneath, and right there on top. So there you go, you can see it's right on top. Now I'm gonna just finish off my head here. That looks pretty good, I think. Give it a little 3, 4 turn whip finish. There we go. Trim off this. That looks pretty nice. Then I like to use the hard as whole for my head cement. I've been using this stuff for 25 years probably, maybe a little bit longer. It's a nice lacquer. And I'll end up having to do a second coat. Yeah. And if I have too much in the front, like you can see that little bubble build up right there, just knock that down. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's exactly the kaleidoscope right there. Now, if you have jungle cock, you should have added some of that before, and that adds a nice, gives it a nice look, but I don't think it's mandatory with this fly. I think this is just a cool looking, simple yet effective summer steelhead fly. It's a good bright fly. I fish it a lot. It has caught a lot of fish the past couple years, and I'm sure if you tie it and fish it, you'll catch them too. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks.